The moment her fingers brushed his wrist, Daniel felt his heartbeat stumble, like it had forgotten its rhythm, and in that instant, he realized this quiet evening was about to change everything he believed about safety, loneliness, and love. Daniel had not planned for anything extraordinary that night. The TV hummed softly, casting blue shadows across the living room, and the old couch creaked under the familiar weight of routine. His son, Noah, was already asleep in the next room, clutching the frayed corner of a blanket Daniel had washed 1,000 times. Nights like this were Daniel's comfort zone, predictable, quiet, controlled. After his wife's death 3 years earlier, control was the only thing that kept his world from collapsing. Emotions were dangerous. Hope was worse. He had learned to survive by expecting nothing. Emily sat beside him, closer than usual, though Daniel told himself it meant nothing. She was just his neighbor. Just the woman who lived across the hall and borrowed sugar too often. Just the voice that asked about Noah's school and remembered his birthday when even he forgot. She smelled faintly of jasmine and laundry soap, and her laughter had a way of slipping past his defenses without asking permission. Still, he told himself this was nothing more than two tired adults watching a late-night rerun, filling silence with shared company. They had met a year ago, when Daniel was struggling with grocery bags and a crying toddler in the hallway. Emily had appeared like a calm hand in chaos, offering help without pity. Over time, small moments stitched their lives together, shared dinners when Noah was sick, whispered conversations in the hallway, accidental smiles that lingered just a second too long. Daniel noticed everything, but he pretended not to. Not because he didn't care, but because caring hurt. The show on TV faded into background noise as Emily shifted slightly, pulling her legs under her. Her knee brushed his thigh. Daniel's body reacted before his mind could stop it, his breath catching just enough to betray him. He focused on the screen, jaw tight, reminding himself of the rules he had made after the funeral: don't want, don't need, don't hope. Then it happened. Emily reached for the remote at the same time he did. Her fingers touched his wrist, warm and gentle, and something inside Daniel cracked open. His heart raced, not with fear, but with something dangerously close to longing. The touch was innocent, barely there, yet it echoed through him like a shout in an empty room. Emily froze too. She didn't pull away immediately, and that hesitation felt louder than words. Daniel could feel the tremble in her hand, the shared awareness hanging between them. He turned to look at her, really look at her, and saw the same guarded vulnerability reflected in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said softly, though she didn't move her hand. "It's okay," he replied, his voice rougher than he intended. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, it was heavy, full of everything unsaid. Daniel thought of Noah sleeping peacefully, of the promises he'd made to protect his son from more loss. He thought of how tired he was of being strong alone. Emily finally withdrew her hand, folding it into her lap as if afraid it might betray her again. She stared at the TV, but her eyes weren't seeing it. "Daniel," she said carefully, "can I ask you something?" He nodded, afraid to speak. "Do you ever feel like you're holding your breath all the time?" she asked. "Like if you let yourself breathe, everything might fall apart." Her words landed deep, too close to the truth. Daniel swallowed. "Every day." She turned toward him then, her expression open, raw. "Me too." Emily told him about her divorce, about the nights she sat alone listening to other people's lives through thin apartment walls. She spoke of how she had learned to be independent not because she wanted to be, but because she had to be. Daniel listened, really listened, and felt something shift. This wasn't about romance. It was about recognition. When Noah stirred in his sleep and called out softly from the bedroom, Daniel rose instinctively. Emily watched him with an expression that held both warmth and fear. "You're a good father," she said quietly. He paused at the doorway. "I'm trying." That night ended without anything more than a shared smile and a promise to finish the episode another time. But as Daniel lay awake later, staring at the ceiling, he realized his heartbeat still hadn't settled. Something had started, whether he was ready or not. If he thought that moment had shaken him, he was wrong, because the next evening, when Emily knocked on his door with tears in her eyes and nowhere else to go, Daniel's heart made a decision before his mind could stop it. Emily stood there, shoulders trembling, rain clinging to her hair. She didn't explain at first. She didn't have to. Daniel stepped aside, letting her in, the unspoken invitation heavier than any words. She sat on the couch, the same place as the night before, but this time the air was different, charged with vulnerability instead of comfort. "I didn't mean for things to feel complicated," she said finally. I got scared." "Of what?" Daniel asked. "Of feeling something again," she admitted. "And losing it." Daniel sat across from her, leaning forward. "I'm scared too." They talked for hours, voices low, sharing truths neither had planned to reveal. Daniel confessed how he'd shut parts of himself down after his wife died, how he feared loving again would somehow betray the past or endanger his son. Emily confessed how she'd built walls so high she forgot what it felt like to be seen. When Noah wandered into the living room, rubbing his eyes, Emily knelt beside him instinctively, offering comfort without hesitation. Daniel watched the interaction with a mixture of awe and terror. Noah smiled at her, that rare, unguarded smile Daniel treasured. In that moment, Daniel understood that love wasn't a threat, it was a risk worth taking. Later, when Noah was back in bed, Emily sat beside Daniel again. This time, she didn't reach for the remote. She reached for his hand. Daniel felt his heartbeat change again, but this time, he didn't pull away. He held on. "We don't have to rush," she said. "We don't have to promise anything." Daniel nodded. "But we don't have to hide either." They sat there, hands intertwined, the TV forgotten, the future uncertain but no longer empty. Daniel realized that healing wasn't about erasing pain, it was about making room for joy alongside it. As Emily leaned her head on his shoulder, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years, peace. Not the quiet of loneliness, but the calm of shared presence. His heart found a new rhythm, steady and hopeful. That night didn't end with fireworks or dramatic confessions. It ended with something far more powerful, a choice. To be open. To be brave. To believe that even after loss, life could surprise you with something gentle and real. And as Daniel turned off the TV and the room fell into darkness, he understood that sometimes, the smallest touch can awaken a heart, and remind it that it was never meant to beat alone.